Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Rizwan Manuzi. My ID number is 2021123143.
My name is Muhammad Izzat Zafri bin Zakaria. My student number is 2021122953.
My name is Muhammad Fidaus bin Mat Daud. My ID number is 2021111341.
Hello, my name is Najib Najmi bin Raini, and for my ID student number is 2021111529.
My name is Muhammad Chris Muhammad Asri. My matrix number is 2021123527.
Indonesia is a country located in Southeast Asia region. It is the biggest country in Southeast Asia with a population estimated of 273 million by 2021. By 2022, Indonesia GDP nominal estimated to be at 1.28 trillion USD. The GDP nominal is the 17th largest in the world by 2022 and the biggest in Southeast Asia. Meanwhile, their GDP PPP was at 3.99 trillion USD by 2022, and that makes them rank 7 in the world. Indonesia is expected to become a developed country by 2045. Since 1999, the economy has recovered. Growth has accelerated to over 4 to 6% in recent years. However, Indonesia faced a recession in 2022 when the economic growth collapsed to negative 2.07 due to the COVID-19 in 2021. Gross domestic product expanded 3.9% due to the removal of COVID-19 restriction. By widow's estimate, there will be economic growth of 5 to 6% in 2022. Unemployment rate of Indonesia was estimated to be 6% of its population. It shows that unemployment rate of Indonesia decreased from 2021. Besides that, the labor force of Indonesia was at 134 million, which is 64.5% of Indonesia population. In 2021, the export for Indonesia economy was at 231.54 billion by 2022. It was expected to export more because of the COVID-19 pandemic has become an endemic. The main export partner for Indonesia is China, ASEAN nation, United States, European Union, Japan, India, South Korea and Hong Kong. In the other side, the import for Indonesia economy was at 196.19 billion. The main export partner for Indonesia is China, Asian country, Japan, European Union, South Korea, United States, Australia and India.
Today I would like to talk about introduction inflation. Okay. The number one is inflation is defined as the pace at which the value of currency falls, and as a result, the overall level of price for goods and services rise. Number two, demand pull inflation. Cost pull inflation and built-in inflation are three forms of inflation. Number three, the consumer price index and the wholesale price index are two most often used inflation indices. Next, I would like to talk about condition of inflation. Number one, April 2022 experienced at 0.95% month-to-month inflation, after inflation was recorded at 0.66% month-to-month in the previous months. Number two, CPI inflation in April 2022 was recorded at 3.47%, higher than the previous month's inflation of 2.64%. Number three, core inflation in April 2022 was recorded at 0.36% month-to-month, up from March 2022 inflation of the 0.30%. Next, I would like to talk about cost of inflation. Number one, wage cost. Companies will have less money left over after paying their workers' salaries if wage rise without equivalent productivity advance. Number two, exhaustion of natural resource or natural disaster. Natural disaster, wars and the other events that disturb the normal flow of resources might make it difficult to access raw materials. Number three, fall in exchange rates. Government puts additional tax on a certain item or on importing and exporting specific goods. The overall manufacturing cost of a product may rise. This is a cost of inflation is happening in Indonesia. Number one, Indonesia inflation occurred due to the price increase as reflected by increase in the most expenditure group in this, namely food, beverage and tobacco, grouped by 1.76%. Number two, Housing, water, electricity and household fuel grew by 0.28%. Number 3, household appliance, equipment and routine maintenance grew by 0.66%. Health group, next, health grew by 0.31%. The last one of my part is types of inflation. Number 1, cost push inflation happens when the cost of the salaries and raw material rise, causing overall price to rise. Inflation. Number 2, cost push inflation occurs when increasing production costs reduce to the aggregate supply, the quantity of overall output in the economy. Number 3, because demand for goods has not altered, manufacturing price increase are passed on to consumers, resulting in cost push inflation. That's all for my part. Thank you.
Based on the graph, it's clearly shown that Indonesia is facing the highest rate of unemployment at the end year of 2020, which is 7.07%. Which means there was a large increase over the beginning of the year with 2.31% differences. According to Central Statistics Agency (BPS), it was the highest unemployment rate in last decade. This happened due to the COVID-19 pandemic who actively spreading at the end of year 2020. However, the Indonesian economy began to grow at 7.07% in the second quarter of 2021. This indicates that the labour market is beginning to improve, which also signifies that the microeconomics environment in early 2021 has recovered. Because of that, industry sector began to grow and reabsorb workers. Due to that, unemployment rate declined from 7.07 to 6.26%, while the percentage of job seeker fell to 11.8% in second quarter of 2021. On the other hand, in current year, which is 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic is starting to slow down and many people have been vaccinated. As a result, the unemployment rate in Indonesia is continuing to drop to 5.88% in the first quarter of 2020. The number of unemployment percent had decreased 0.35 million to 8.4 million persons. There is several types of unemployment happen in Indonesia. Firstly is seasonal unemployment. Seasonal nature of agriculture jobs has indirectly led to seasonal unemployment problem. This is a common occurrence in the agricultural, where harvesting season naturally demand more workers than are needed during other months. After harvesting season, worker will be reduced and result a handful of agriculture workers lost their job. Secondly is frictional unemployment. Construction types of job will lead to frictional unemployment problem. Due to the discontinuous nature of construction jobs, this will indirectly lead to frictional unemployment problem. Frictional unemployment problem, or also known as temporary unemployment, will arise when construction workers lose their job after the construction process is completed, then force these workers to find new jobs that suit with their abilities. Thirdly is cyclical unemployment. Indonesia also facing cyclical unemployment problem. This is due to the COVID-19 pandemic who actively spreading at the end of year 2020. COVID-19 outbreak resulting in a recession gap occurring. Because of that, majority of companies have the tendency to reduce the number of employees in order to reduce the burden of operating costs. Next is classical unemployment. On January 1, 2020, Indonesia has changed minimum salaries. Even though the minimum wage has increased, it will affect on Indonesia industrial human capital because few companies are willing to do so. As a result, the company need to reduce the number of workers in the organization and high classical unemployment happen. Lastly is technological unemployment. Technological unemployment occur in Indonesia due to the replacement of manpower by the machines. This happened because the development of technology has indirectly changed the procedure and way of performing a job toward more advanced, such as use of robot or machine in a job that was previously done by human labor. Next is causes and effect of unemployment. In terms of individual, unemployment results in individuals in Indonesia to not be able to earn money to pay daily necessities. In terms of economy, unemployment is a waste of resources since it results in a permanent loss of goods and service in Indonesia. While in terms of social, unemployment lowers morale and causes human suffering. Unemployment will cause a social problem when unemployment turns to drug addicts and criminals.
Assalamualaikum. For my part, I will present about monetary policy. Countries solve the problem inflation and unemployment. Monetary policy. At its monetary policy meeting on 16 to 17 March, Bank Indonesia decided to lift the 7-day reverse report rate at the all-time low of 3.50%, where it has been since February 2021. In a move was widely expected by market analysts. The bank decision came in a bid to support economic growth and exchange rate stability amid rising price pressure as a result of the Russia-Ukraine war. High-frequency indicators for Q1 hint at upbeat activity on the back of robust domestic dynamics. Meanwhile, inflation has remained relatively subdued. February 2.1%, January 2.2%, and is still expected to remain within the band 2.0 to 4.0% target range, giving Bank Indonesia further room to take a wait-and-see approach. Regarding the outlook, economists at Goldman Sachs now see the benefit tightening rates by question 3. For now, the stable IDR and still well-behaved inflation give Bank Indonesia some latitude in deciding the pace of domestic policy normalization. However, as the Fed accelerates its hiking pace and inflationary pressures build over the course of the year, we expect Bank Indonesia to tighten policy further. We continue to forecast a cumulative 75 basis points of policy rate hikes this year, starting in Q3 2022. Nicholas Mapa, senior economist at ING, also sees a delayed start of the tightening cycle. Indonesia Governor Perry Warjo has singled out currency stability and worrisome inflation as potential triggers for reversal, but neither appear to be of concern just yet. Domestic inflation has remained subdued in large part due to fuel subsidies that keep transport costs controlled, although we are unsure if fiscal authorities will be expanding such measures as they chase fiscal consolidation targets. Nevertheless, it appears that Bank Indonesia does have room to retain its accommodative stance for just a little longer, as inflation has yet to threaten the upper end of its 2.0 to 4.0% target.
My part is about fiscal policy. Firstly, contractionary fiscal policy. However, fiscal policy continue on a responsible and conservative track and act as an anchor for the whole economy. In fact, prudent budget policy is generally seen as having been instrumental in the economic recovery. Even during the height of the fiscal crisis, deficits were modest, reaching a height of 2.5% of GDP. Secondly, expansionary fiscal policy. Several significant changes have occurred to the composition of expenditure over time. First, and as not above, public investment and other development expenditures were cut significantly immediately following the crisis to fund sharply higher interest expenditure. This situation has now been reversed, with lower interest expenditure giving room for increased public investment and other development expenditure, as well as increased spending on education and health. Second, a significant amount of operating expenditure, salaries and other running costs was transformed into transfer payment to regional governments, as they assume many government services through the decentralization program.
To conclude, Indonesia have done an excellent job to their country, even though they have to face so many problems on the economy such as unemployment rate and inflation. But they seem to find a way to solve the problems. Indonesia need a big applause of their work to handle a population with over 250 million. They have a large economy and expected to become the fourth largest economy in the world by 2045.